morning. Good morning. Well, I'm going to talk about powers of the municipalities in Mexico for the use of economic instruments. First of all, I would like to tell you that municipalities in Mexico have a lot of powers in the environmental area, because since 1987, a principle of concurrency between the three levels of government, I mean federal, state, and municipal, is the basis for the distribution of environmental powers in the country according to the Mexican Constitution. However, despite this, not a lot of municipalities have a regulation for environmental protection in the country. And most of them are medium or large municipalities, and in most cases, urban municipalities. So, since 1987, with the Environmental Protection Act, municipalities have a lot of powers in environmental areas, but most of them don't have a specific regulation for that. And as I said one moment ago, most of them that has those regulations are medium or large municipalities like Mexico City, Puebla, Monterrey, but not the small municipalities have regulation. And environmental economic instruments are also available for them. And the National Environmental Act, the LEGEPA, distinguishes between tax instruments, financial instruments, and market instruments, and all of them are available for the municipality. But they don't do how to develop them. In the case of tax instruments, municipalities can develop and adopt tax economic instruments according to the powers that tax legislation provide to them. And these tax instruments, taxes and tax incentives, should be directed to the achievement of the objectives of the municipal environmental policy. And that doesn't mean in the specific case of taxes that these have to be affected to cover environmental expenses. But most of them don't use it because they think if they use tax environmental instruments, they are going to, they will have to have that money to those expenses. And that's one of the main problems. But it's not only possible to create a new tax. And for them, it's not only possible to create new taxes, but on environmental issues at the municipal level, but also it's feasible to incorporate environmental councils into existing ones. And that's perhaps a most easy way for municipalities. For example, it's possible to adopt or to include in the property taxes by performing desirable behaviors towards the environmental. For example, behaviors like reforestation, adopting green areas, green terraces, etc. So for them, for municipalities, it's possible to adopt new taxes or to adopt those that are more common with environmental questions. In the field of financial instruments, there are also possibilities for the municipality. For example, in regard to the requirements of liability insurance or bonding at a given municipality can be as long as the area in which it is imposed under municipal jurisdiction. A concrete example would be for the award of waste management to a private company, for example, that is demanded to provide this warranty. They can also use those instruments. I mean, they have a lot of possibilities, they have a lot of powers according to law, but they don't use it very often. Municipalities have powers to take action to preserve and restore the natural heritage resources of the municipality, whose care is not reserved to the federation or state government. So the municipality has the following mechanisms for this proposal, and all of them can include economic instruments. And those mechanisms are, for example, zoning, promoting and managing protected areas, protection of the quality of urban and rural landscapes, protection of wildlife, promotion of sustainable forest development activities, promoting the formation of public and private organizations for the administration of urban parks and environmental conservation in the population centers. And as I said, in all these areas, they can use these economic environmental instruments, but at the moment, they haven't been adopted in the country, but in cities as Mexico City or big and urban municipalities. And well, that's a view of the situation of the use of economic instruments at this level in the country. And I would like to invite you to put questions about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya, sorry, for your presentation. Making sure so we can have time to discuss. Is there any question?
You mentioned that.
If you could take your microphone. Is this because? No, it's not because. It's because we are taping the session, so we can have. Don't mind. Thank you.
Hello? You mentioned that...
Yes, if you could present yourself so we can know each other, it's a bit better. Could you say your name and where do you come from? And
Okay.
university?
I'm Cynthia Mena from the University of York. York, in England. I have a question about, you mentioned that municipalities have powers, but they don't use them. Do you think that is related with a lack of education or lack of knowledge from the presidents of the municipalities?
I think it's a combination of both questions. I think it's a question about economic and human resources. That's why I said that big and urban municipalities, they have these economic resources, these human resources to adopt them. But most of the municipalities, as you know, in the country are not urban municipalities. And most of these municipalities are the richest one in natural resources. I mean, most of natural resources are in these small municipalities. And they don't have the knowledge, the economic resources, the human resources to adopt that. And the regulation is young. I mean, economic instruments are in the LEGEPA, in the Environmental Act from 1996. So they are new.
And I have another one. Yeah, so what do you think that this should be the way to motivate these municipalities? Is the university doing something, research centers?
I think it's necessary to tell them that they can use these economic instruments. And another thing I mentioned is that they don't have to give that money, for example, in the case of taxes, to protect the environment. I mean, they can use regular taxes for environmental purposes, but that money can be used for other objectives, because sometimes they don't want to adopt these environmental taxes because they said, I'm not going to have more money for my needs.
Thank you.
I think it's good to know that the tax legislation lets them to other.
Well, you didn't ask me, but I agree with you, with your point that I think the university is somehow responsible. I think we are teaching politicians and teaching professionals, so we are responsible somehow, and we also have to give clear advice on how to use this instrument, how to tell them how to do it. Okay. Any question? Okay, thank you, Tanya.